Hello, welcome everybody to another live streaming about WordPress, about my current setup situation and the work that I'm doing to build my wife's new website, her photography, career, studio, personal website, whatever it will be, I don't know. But I decided to live stream it because I don't really want to do it. I'm lazy. So I'm forcing myself to live stream my whole process in order to, I don't know, kick myself in the face and force myself to do it. It's gonna be awesome. We're gonna have so much fun. As usual, if you want to join, participate, just leave a comment in the chat. Be respectful, be responsible. Don't be silly. I will, in this session, differently from the last session, I will be focusing more on the coding side and on the setup side and be more on hands on what I'm doing. And then after a while, after I accomplish all the things that I want to do today, I'm going to focus on the chat and I'm going to answer all your questions. So I apologize in advance if your questions, if you write something, I'm not going to answer it right away because I want to focus more on actually doing. Some people complained about the last video that it was not really much about WordPress, but more like an hour-long rant and answering questions. But anyway, also, if you have the means and if you can do it, you can donate through the chat. And if you donate through the chat, your comment will be highlighted on top of everything else. So I will be seeing your comments first. So if you have a very important question and you just want to donate to the channel, just make a donation through the chat. As usual, this episode or this live streaming is sponsored, or not really, is helped and brought also by Linode. If you go to linode.com/Alicat, you will get $100 off, $100 on credit on your first 60 days. You can set up all the machines that you want. You can set up all the VPS, Kubernetes, all the cloud platform, whatever. You can test it and burn through those, through that $100 as quick as you want. Go to linode.com/Alicat and get your credit for free. Thanks, Linode. Amazing supporters, amazing, wonderful service. And also, if you want some cool swag on the t-shirt, you can go to my YouTube channel, click on the store tab, and you can get some pretty cool t-shirt, like the Nerd Continuity t-shirt that I've been wearing for, I don't know, 2 years now. Yeah, look at that. It's not too destroyed for being a 2 years old t-shirt. Usually you crush the t-shirts, like especially printed t-shirt, they just like disintegrate after a couple of washed. But yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, let's get started. Let's do it. Okay, last time I wasn't able to set up my env environment, like my .env. If you know a little bit about .env, basically it's identical to Laravel, how Laravel works, or a lot of applications, especially PHP application. You have a .env file that I'm gonna check here. This is the base root directory of my WordPress installation. You can see I have the WP admin content, blah, blah, blah. I have this .env file that I'm gonna open in VS Code, and I can just boom. No, I don't want, VS Code has these dropping things that I really don't like it. Just no, the whole page give me. Okay, thank you, VS Code. A .env file is basically a hidden file where you can write these variables or these attributes, and you can give whatever values to these attributes, and then using a composer package called PHP autoload, you can load those variables into whatever PHP file. So you don't need to write your, I don't know, your password, your protected information directly inside your PHP. You can have a .env file that you can upload on the server, and it's easier to manage. I have in my AWPS starter theme wp-config example file that you can copy paste and replace with your wp-config, and I'm going to do exactly the same. So I'm going to copy this before the declaration. Actually, I'm going to copy all of this stuff, and I'm going to open from the root directory the wp config. That is the actual file that I'm using for the sabrina.test website that I'm currently building locally on my local machine. I'm not using any server, anything else. Let me paste all of these here, and then I'm gonna paste as well. I'm gonna copy the table prefix, all the debug, autosave, blah blah blah, all the empty trash options, all the good stuff in the wp config. I'm gonna replace all of this from here. There you go. Boom. Okay. So if I'm not wrong, and finger crossed because I might be wrong as well, I did a mistake last time because I forgot to update the directory, the root, or where my autoload.php file is. My autoload.php file is inside the vendor folder, and it's inside autoload.php is right here. But of course, the default directory that is written in the AWPS assumes that your themes folder, it's called AWPS. I renamed these to be Miso 2021, so I need to replace this with the proper root directory. So Miso 2021. Now, if we save and we reload this file, yay, it works. I'm reloading it. Yeah, it works perfectly. And if I access my settings here, and if I go, yeah, you see, when you define your, I can remove the examples here. When you define your WP home and WP site URL directly in your wp-config.php, these two options here in the settings are blanked out. You cannot edit them because the WP config file has priority on those. And this is great because when I deploy this site remotely, and I deploy, if I want to deploy the entire WordPress installation, I want to deploy just the theme, I can simply then upload a different .env version of the env file to the server, called, like, I don't know, .env.production or whatever. I can give it another name, but then I rename it to .env on the server, and I can simply replace these to the actual website name, which is sabrinamiso.com, which is the actual URL. So I can have locally as many .env files that represent the different servers in which this WordPress website will land. We can have a local machine, or if you pass this to another developer that doesn't use the .test extension, it uses another .local, .dev, whatever extension top level domain wants to use, you can easily change and have different env variable. And it's easier, in my opinion, to change these options in an env file that you can pass around without touching PHP files. The PHP file, it's static. It always remains the same. You don't have to touch it, which is great. Another good thing is that we have an app environment variable that it stands for development, and you can change from development to production. And you can see in the WP config, the code that I just copied here, we have a WP debug. As I said in the previous video, the WP debug basically prints all the debug information, even if they're not critical errors, if they're just warning or info, it prints them on your page. So it's good to have these during development locally. But if you're in a production environment, automatically this should be turned off. And a lot of developers, they forget to do it. When they deploy the website on the production server, they forget to set the WP debug to false. So the .env file does that automatically for you. Checks if the env is identical to development, set the debug attributes or debug global variables to true, otherwise set them to false. So we can forget about it, and it's super easy and super simple, like I used to say. Nothing is simple anymore nowadays, but now it's super simple. Okay, I set up everything so I can close this. Perfect. Now I have my local test that it's using my .env, and that was the mistake that I was doing before. One thing that I want to do now, I want to set up a couple of things. First of all, I want to use Tailwind CSS because I like the utility first approach of Tailwind CSS. If you don't know what Tailwind CSS is, it's basically, I would say, kind of like Bootstrap or Foundation. It's a CSS framework, but it's utility first. Utility first means that you don't really write classes or you don't write declaration. I mean, you can write them, but everything extends these atomic representation of something. So if I refresh the page, I can give you an example. You write like P8, so it gives a padding of 8. You have very unique specific classes name that represents only one option or only one variation of a CSS attribute, and you build your own UI with this. And of course, there are some, like for everything, there are some users or developers that hate these, some developers that love this, some developers that are completely indifferent to this. I personally like it because it helps me to keep my style consistent. It helps me to not worry about creating a million different classes, or not even a million, like building classes from scratch. But I have a framework that it's flexible enough for me to create something visually unique, but I don't have to write everything from scratch. And yeah, since this website is going to have a lot of different pages with a lot of different sections, I want to keep the style consistent and it's easier to use. I want to keep the spacing and sizing consistent. So using a utility first framework, it's good. And also it's very easy to integrate into AWPS. So I am gonna go to the installation process. And since we're using in AWPS, we're using Laravel Mix, I'm going to click on Laravel because that's what the type of compiler that we're using, and I'm gonna install all these. We need Tailwind CSS, Post CSS, and Auto Prefixer. So I'm gonna install all of these, and the dash uppercase D means that it will save these new package inside my package.json inside the dev dependencies because it's uppercase D. If it was lowercase d, it would save into the dependencies, but we just need the dev dependencies because that's what we're doing here. So let's open our terminal in the location here. Can you read it? Is the font good enough? I can zoom it a little bit if you guys want. npm install d tailwind latest, boom, 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 boom. It's going to take a few seconds. Perfect. Installed everything. Don't worry about the vulnerabilities. There are some new packages that are being released recently from npm. And those introduce some, hey, you should upgrade your packages because vulnerabilities. We're developing locally. It's fine. We're going to fix this at the end. So now that we have here, you can see that Tailwind was added, then Post CSS, and then the Auto Prefixer. All the good things were added. Now, in order to compile Tailwind CSS, we need to actually generate a config.js file and then update the webpack mix to say to our script, hey, compile Tailwind CSS. So first of all, I'm going to generate the Tailwind config file by using npx, like is suggested here. Boom, 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 npx Tailwind CSS init, and it's just gonna basically create a tailwind.config.js, replace with, okay, just fix everything, quick fix, fix all auto fixable problem. There you go. I'm using prettier.js with the WordPress scripting ESLinting, so it recognizes if the file doesn't match the expected linting or formatting of the file. One very important thing that we have to specify before using Tailwind CSS is the purge option. Tailwind CSS comes with Purge CSS. Purge CSS is a package that allows you to remove all those classes and declaration from your source files that you never used. So if you have, like in Tailwind CSS, a million different declarations, but you don't use them, you use just 10, all the other 900,000 should be deleted. So your final file, when you release for production, is very small because it uses only the declarations or the CSS classes that you actually use in your file. And in order to say purge, what should be purged, we need to specify a list of files that contain the classes that we're going to be using. So for example, if in my index I have the class page title, I should point to the index.php here in the purge to say to the purge CSS, hey, if these files have some classes in it, don't purge them. Ignore them, basically. I have some predefined lists of purgeable files because I don't want to write them, but they're already, it's basically the standard WordPress structure, but I have a couple of extra things. First of all, I'm including the ink folder and all the PHP files inside the ink folder. These are all the standard WordPress files that are in the root directory. And then I'm including also the JavaScript in the assets because I might be doing some Gutenberg blocks with Tailwind CSS attributes declarations. So we need to check if in the scripts I'm using some CSS inside JavaScript. I have the views subfolder here with some content files. I have the partials here, or I might have the partial. I don't actually, but I might have a, yeah, let's remove this. I have the page template, that's perfect. And I have the ink folder, which contains all my object-oriented programming approach to AWPS, so I can purge those. You might ask yourself, why don't you just simply do something like from the root directory, check all the files that have a PHP extension. I don't do this because in the root directory there's also the vendor folder, and the vendor folder has a bunch of composer packages that are all PHP, and I don't want purge CSS to be going around and checking those files, or the node modules. If in some node modules there's a PHP file, it's gonna just look for those in every single folder. I don't care about the advanced custom field JSON folder. I don't care about the distributions files or distribution folders. Those are compiled, should be ignored. So all these things we can limit by only specifying which files and directories should be searched by purge CSS. Now that we have these configured, we can, here in the documentation, whatever, we can update our Webpack mix files to, instead of compiling our SCSS, we need to compile our post CSS, which requires Tailwind CSS. So we can pretty easily do it by accessing our webpack.mix.js. We keep these, we autoload jQuery, we keep the set public pack to the distribution assets folder. That's perfect. Now all these Sass files, we don't care about those. And we add our post CSS. So style and admin, these two can go. We don't care about these two, but we keep these Sass for the Gutenberg because Gutenberg potentially, I mean, do we keep this? Because we have a Gutenberg.scss that requires the blocks. So if we have some custom containers here, but also this is going to be Tailwind CSS, but let's leave it for now. Now let's delete it. Just to not have a mix of post CSS and SCSS. We'll just add time to our compiling, and I don't really want it. I can deal everything in Tailwind CSS, so it's gonna be pretty straightforward. So here we have the new option called post CSS. That we can specify the root directory of the file that we wanna compile and we wanna define, which is exactly in the assets folder, in the source directory. This shouldn't be style anymore, so Sass anymore. So let's create a new folder called scripts and styles. Scripts and styles. Yeah, let's call it styles. Do styles. You can name these folders whatever you want, and we can call style.css, and then we can say that the final directory, or actually the destination directory here, is assets dist that slash css. Is that what we have? This slash css. Yes, css. Okay, so in this style we need to create a new file called, of course, style.css. Perfect. And as you can see here, even if Tailwind, we're using post CSS, the files that Tailwind uses is just pure simple CSS, which is kind of easier, most straightforward. Then we have to open a bunch of options, so we can put a comma here and open the square brackets to declare a bunch of options for our post CSS. We need to require our Tailwind CSS. And then we need to require not the dot, but the comma. We need to require our post CSS nested for all our nested declarations, and then the auto prefixer. The auto prefixer is awesome because it takes care of creating prefixes for all those old browsers. If you still want to support Internet Explorer, even if it was declared dead, but people are still using it, but you can declare different prefixes automatically during compilation. You don't have to write them automatically. All those declarations, CSS declarations that require an auto prefix like -mods or -webkit will be automatically added by Tailwind CSS or by Laravel Mix on compilation, which is great. And then we can declare an extra option, if I'm not wrong, is the post CSS URLs that we can remove, or I don't think so, but whatever, we can leave it like that. So here now, the only thing that we have to do is include these using the @Tailwind, which is a new importer, like CSS importer. We can import the base, the components, and the utilities of Tailwind inside our base CSS file. So that's what we're gonna do here in the style.css. Save these. Perfect. We got these two, we got this. We don't need the production here. Tailwind is declared. We got our Tailwind config. So I think we can try to run this thing, right? Yeah, it should be good if I'm not wrong. We're including everything, all the assets. Yeah, we're ignoring SAS folder. Okay, let's give it a run. Let's give it a try. So npm run dev. Let's see if it fails. Probably fails. No, didn't fail. Amazing. Now we have the CSS style.css, and if we access that style.css, you can see we have Tailwind version 1.2. It's including normalize automatically and has this massive file with all these utility first declaration, and we don't need to look at that, of course. And it's all happening because we're including the 3 base component of Tailwind CSS. So now if we reload the file, the page, of course, it's gonna look completely different because our CSS changed dramatically. But that's what I wanted. I wanted to start with a clean slate of Tailwind CSS, which is awesome. So now also let me check for errors, if we have any error. We don't have any error. The fav icon, whatever you want to say, I didn't set it up, so it's fine. If we reload our network here, you can see that we got our style CSS, which is perfect. And then what we got here, we got style min.css, which is getting loaded. Dash icons, these two are coming from double P includes. These two are coming from WordPress, and this is coming from WordPress. So these 3 CSS files are coming from the default WordPress. unfortunately, there's nothing we can do. They're coming from the WP includes. These are for the Gutenberg default blocks. These are for the admin bar. The admin bar, we can just simply remove it and this won't be loaded. Dash icons are part of the admin bar, but whatever. Then we have this Gutenberg.css that it's our file, but it's only 600 bytes. And we will remove it later or incorporate it into our style.min. But it's looking good so far. Let me change a setting here because I need to permalinks. I want the post name permalink, save change. So this is good. Okay. Perfect. Now that I did that, automatically, as you can see, AWS works out of the box with Tailwind, because here it tells you in the documentation of Tailwind, it tells you now you have to include the assets by this because it's using the source map. But if we check the structure of AWS, you see that in the assets distribution, there's a mix manifest that gets created in the assets folder. It gets created here because in our webpack.mix we declare set the public path to assets dist. So that's where the mix manifest is generated. If you don't set up the set public path to whatever folder, gets generated into the root directory of your theme. It's fine, you can have it, it's fine. And then it's simply a JSON array that lists the locations of your file. It's kind of silly, but that's how it works. It's fine. So if we want to reference the CSS style, we have also the root directory or the directory of our assets where the style is. We could potentially rename these to style, Gutenberg.js, admin.js, like removing the root directory, but it's something that you can do if you want to extend this functionality. But having this file allowed me to create a mix method in the helper functions. In the helpers.php that is inside the includes, there's this function called mix that it's a globally available functions everywhere inside AWS that allows you to simply specify which file you want, and automatically this function is going to look for the mix manifest, the directory of the mix manifest.json, and it's going to return the get template directory URI path. Because if you know a little bit about WordPress, you know that in order to load a CSS or JavaScript file, an assets file, you need to specify the full path. It's not relative to the theme, it's global to the URL path of your whole WordPress installation. And this sometimes can get tricky because it's get template directory and then it's /dir /assets or it's /my theme /whatever. My mix function takes care of everything. So if we check how it was used here, I have WP and Q style mix find my CSS style, or mix find my JavaScript file, and that's automatically included, which is awesome, right? Works out of the box. Cool. So now that we have this, we can delete this Sass. I have a bunch of different things. These are okay things that I could potentially, yeah, let's leave it there for now. It's just as a placeholder if I want to tap them, but for now we're just gonna work on the style.css file, which is pretty straightforward. Okay, we did a full setup. Now I have my Tailwind CSS set up, my website is all set up. Now we need to start coding it. And the thing that I want to code first is the homepage, is the most important things. I usually, instead of it's a different type of approach. Instead of start like setting up your pages and posts or your I don't know, your styles or your frameworks and all the stuff, I like to start from the home page, because the home page most of the times has the majority of the base styles. So by setting up the homepage, you set up the basic default styles of your fonts, your responsive breaking points, your font sizes, your basic colors, and by doing so, you basically set up your initial CSS styling for your whole website, and it gives me a good starting point. It's a personal preference, it's not right or wrong, it's just very personal. Let me clean up a bunch of things here. First of all, the example file, I don't need this. Move to trash. Then I don't need this .github because I'm not on GitHub here. And then license. Okay, I needed to clean up a bunch of things because I don't like this. Travis, also I don't deploy on Travis anymore, so I can remove this. Cool. Okay, before continuing, one thing that is very important: set up a Git repository or any type of version control. Set up Mercurial, Git, whatever. Git init. Just set it up. By doing Git init, basically which is already included in your AWS, your Git ignore, it will help your code editor or IDE or visual editor to completely ignore these folders here: the mix manifest, the node modules folder, the vendor folders, the distribution folder. So every time you do, also all the log files, it's great. So every time you do a global search with your IDE, the Git ignore will help you to do a better search because it will ignore all those source folders or those directories that are ignored by the Git ignore. And it's better. It's better because it removes a lot of clutter in your search results, and it's good. And also here we could start and do something good. Post CSS URLs. Let me search post CSS URLs. What is post CSS URLs? This process optimize relative style sheet URLs. By default, Webpack will automatically update these URLs when relevant. However, your folder structure is already organized the way you want it. Set this option to false to disable processing. Yeah, I think we need to disable processing because my folder options is set by default. Laravel Mix is amazing. The documentation is very easy to follow, and you can set a bunch of different things, and it's just very good. So let's clean this up. So after the whole post CSS shenanigans here, we can set up some oh, come on, it's options, boy. Options, and we can set up inside the curly brackets the process CSS URL, and we can set these to false, so it shouldn't affect anymore. Just npm run dev shouldn't do anything. Yeah, it's good, fine. Okay, so let's push this to our repository. Git add, git commit. Let's go like initial commit, something very straightforward. Okay, this is mine. I have to, I'm checking into another screen the URL of my GitLab repository for the website. Let me remove this. Okay, this is good. This is good. Package.json. Yeah, we are here in the miso directory. So clone with SSH. Okay, so we have git add remote. Yeah, I already did it in the past, so I have it in my go. So I'm adding the remote folder of my GitLab repository, whereas these website should be set. So if I do git remote v, I should have, yeah, the origin is set to fetch and push to these. So I get git push set upstream origin master force. I'm gonna use the force tag because there's already an old theme in there, uploaded and saved. I don't care about that. I just want to override everything. So just push it and destroy it. Remote forces fail to push some ref. Pre-received hook. You are not allowed to force push code to a protected branch. Okay, so yeah, that's true. I need to change these protected branch. How do I do this in do you guys know how to do this in GitLab? Change protected branch, GitLab. These are all the things that you usually do once every 2 years. And after you do those, you say, oh, that's cool, it's easy. But then you forget immediately, and every time you have to do a research again. Protected branches, so it's settings, repositories, settings, repository. Okay, I have it here. Protected branches, expand, select branch. Okay, allow force push. Okay. Do I have to save this? No, I think it's auto. Okay, and force push. Okay, perfect. See, updating the settings, it's cool. Okay, we got this. Finally, we have our GitHub repository set up. It's super cool, super easy. We got our style here that we can start tweaking with, and it's gonna be awesome. So the first page that I want to build by opening my beautiful Figma design that you can check here. And I showed this to you in the last live streaming. I want to create this first page. This first page is going to basically have, it's going to be a template that can be added to any page. It doesn't matter. It's not going to be related to the page name or the page slug or the ID of the page. It's going to be a page template that the user, in my case, like the client, whatever, can select and assign to whatever. So in the case that the user or the client wants to have the same layout for multiple other pages, the same exact result of layout, the same style, can be done by simply applying that template to that page. And this template is basically straightforward. It's gonna have like a background image. I'm not gonna add any overlay or anything because probably I will, I don't know, but usually it's better for the client to control the image and the type of overlay that it's on the image. It's gonna have the title and subtitle of the website, and then we're gonna have a very simple, straightforward basic menu with some social media menu down here. And then we're gonna deal with this later. But yeah, let's build this, shall we? Okay. I haven't been looking at the chat the whole time, so say hi to the chat. And I'm gonna take a small break now because it's been half an hour. So ask your questions away, and I'm gonna answer your questions right after I take a sip of my water because my throat is itching, of course. Hello, everyone. How's everybody doing? Oh, we got an Italian here. STP Engineering. Ciao. Ooh. Alrighty, so we got a bunch of messages that I didn't see in the chat before. Hello, everyone. Hello, RJ. Thanks for the amazing content. You're very welcome, RJ. Daniel, welcome. Oh, Danny, it's always good to see you. Joao, hello from Brazil. Oh, okay. Said asks, so it's headless, right? Is it related to the previous video? Yeah. Weberson, today will be more code and less rant. Yeah, see, I did like half an hour. I showed the code and how I set up my thing. So I was honest. I did the work. I did some work. Did you like it, Weberson? It was more entertaining the rant or more entertaining the code? Just let me know. Danny asks, is there documentation on AWS? No, Danny, I have to create it. But yeah, I have to create it because AWS, it's really at its core, it's I don't know, it's just a patchwork or a melting pot, a conglomeration of different options. Like it comes with a default WordPress theme structure, and then it uses Laravel mix, and then it uses Composer, and then it uses npm. So it's not that I have to create a very extensive documentation. I have to just say it uses npm, go check the npm documentation. It uses Laravel mix, go check the mix Laravel mix documentation, all the stuff, right? And so yeah, I'm lazy, I have to do it, but yes. Anderson from Brazil. Hello. Daniel from Australia. Oh, from Australia again. Yeah, thank you. Learn with MH. Love from Bangladesh. Thank you. STP engineer, the bad user experience model. Yes, the Linux model is a bad user experience model. Great UI, bad UX. That should be a meme. You guys create a meme. Weberson says, I really love the last video. I'm really enjoying this one too. You're great. Thank you. Reading these from the web person itself, it's very fulfilling and heartwarming. So thank you so much. I have to say, I like coding, but I also like running a Q&A. Yeah, it's good. What about WP GraphQL? What's about it? What do you want to know about WP GraphQL? GraphQL, it's nice because it's a saner way to do API calls and get humanly readable response and always like cohesive, coherent responses instead of the WP REST API. But GraphQL, let's always remember that it's a Facebook technology, and I hate Facebook so much, and you shouldn't your project shouldn't rely on technologies that is developed by pieces of shit. Sorry. So yeah. Blah blah blah. I'm gonna be banned from YouTube sooner or later by all these things. But yeah, it's good. Like WP GraphQL, it's nice to use, absolutely. It's just Facebook technology. It's like React. Oh God, why? So the WP REST API are not that bad. Are kind of outdated. I wish they would update those, but they're still the same. It depends on really what you need to do. Do you need to build a website that pings your API 10,000 times per minute and handles like a full e-commerce based on APIs that handles data from multiple different servers or multiple different external services? Or it's a simple website? If it's a simple website, having like implementing GraphQL is not going to bring any benefit other than for you to say, hey, I built this with GraphQL. I'm modern, I'm cool, whatever. It's always, before using a new technology or a fancy new technology, especially in this world where everything is FOMO, there's a fear of missing out. Like, oh, you're a developer, you never use React or GraphQL or Apollo, or you never use this and that. Oh, no, you're not a real developer. We live in a world of FOMO. Don't get the FOMO win. Just use the things that you need for the objective or for the goals that you have to achieve. Don't over-engineer your things. The web is already pretty over-engineered. We should keep things simple. Amro said, lol. That's true. We hate Facebook technology. Yes, that Facebook current rating on Play Store is like 2.3. Yeah. Laravel, Pew. Tired, I started speaking Italian. Laravel plus Vue.js, Pew inertial JS. Never use inertial JS video. I think I'm gonna. I need to go back to the Laravel tutorials, but I'm going to keep things separated. I first want to do a Laravel tutorial series and then a Vue.js tutorial series. I don't like to merge those things. It gets too complicated, right? It's better to keep it pretty straightforward and one topic per tutorial. Thank you for the long answer. Yeah, you're very welcome. Hello from Nisarul from Bangladesh. Hello from Canada. Okay, let's get back into coding. You guys can keep writing questions. I will answer to those questions later, but let's get back into coding. Let's set up this beautiful, beautiful page. So the way I like to set up, no, I don't need all these anymore. The way I like to set up things, especially for custom pages, something like drastic, like this type of style. This is a completely different style from the basic WordPress website or a basic WordPress page template or like page or post. I like to create a template, and the user or the client can decide when and where to use the template. So let's do it. I have in the AWS a folder dedicated for that, and I use this concept of TPL dash and then the name of the template. You don't have to do it. I like to do it because at least I can recognize at a glance what type of file is this. If this file was called firstpage.php, it might be whatever. It might be a partial, it might be first page used by WordPress, it might be an index, whatever. But if I use TPL as a prefix, I immediately recognize, oh, this is a prefix. Let's rename these to TPL home, TPL index, not PHP. I don't know. How do you call this page? This is the intro page, whatever. The name doesn't really matter. We can name TPL first page.php. Let's call it like that. And then the important thing, the very important thing about templates is the template name comment tag that you put in the PHP comment and the name that you give it. So these has to be first page template. If we do this and we go to the administration area of our gorgeous website here, we go into the pages and we create, for example, a new page, and we can call it home page like this. This is the home page. Nothing is going to be printed or written because whatever. If we click on the pages attribute here in the block, and you cannot see it because my face is on it, so I'm going to move my face bloof to the other side. In the page template, in the page, not in the block, but in the page attributes here, in the page attributes, you have the option to choose a template, and automatically WordPress recognizes in your theme you specify these first page template. If you add more templates, it would list all the templates that you have here. So landing page, Amro suggests, yes, landing page. I like landing page. Yeah, let's rename it landing page. Landing page. I mean, landing pages might be multiple, but the main landing page that I could have like variations, like I don't know, like portfolio landing page, or photography landing page, or client landing page, or whatever. Multiple landing page, booking landing page, but landing page, I like the name landing page. So landing page template, yeah, dope. I like it. Okay, let's go back here. Let's publish this without doing anything. Let's refresh, and if we display attribute landing page template, there you go, we have it here. So if we click update now, of course, if we refresh this page, nothing happens because we didn't change the settings of my WordPress installation. But if we go to the settings, and I don't remember because I haven't done this in a long time. Okay, in the reading settings of our administration panel, now I should change my face back to the other side. Move your face away. You can set up what do you want to see. Do you want to see the latest post or a static page? And we can set up a static page, and a static page can be the landing page. And then the post pages, let's create another thing actually. So let's refresh this here. Let's create another page. Let's trash this sample page and trash the privacy policy. Add new blog. Let's call it blog. This is my blog. Simple, right? Publish. Okay. So now we have these pages. We can refresh and we can set up a static page as a landing page and the post page has to be blog. So by saying that the blog is going to be the post page, automatically WordPress will use the index.php file. And in the index.php file, we already have a bunch of predefined HTML. We have the post loop, which our almighty God post loop. Everything in WordPress is handled with a post loop. So just while I have post, the post, and again, the template. But if we say on the first page, WordPress, if in the settings we specify that the home page should be another page different from the blog post, WordPress by default will use the page.php. And as you can see here in the page.php, I have the same post loop, but instead of getting the content blog or the content, where is it, related to the post format, so in our case, views, content page, content none, content search, content by default, it gets the content page, so it loads this page. But because we specify a custom template for that page, now it's basically not going to load anything. We're just going to have the header and the footer. So if we refresh our page here, bam, empty. We just have the header and the footer, and we can double check and confirm this if we write, for example, an H1 tag. Maybe if I write not uppercase H1 and close the PHP, and here open the PHP, PHP H1, and say this is my landing page. Boom, and we refresh. There you go, H1. This is my landing page. Yeah, and as you can see, even if it's an H1 tag, it's not massively bloated or exploded, or it's bold and it's all weird. That's because Tailwind CSS automatically applies a normalize to my whole website. So it doesn't matter the browser that you use, it doesn't matter the style that you use. By default, it starts with a blank slate, and you don't have predefined sizing, margins, or predefined weird ass things that are always coming from any other type of framework or any other browser. That's very straightforward. I like it this way. Perfect. So now that we set things up, we can start doing some pure HTML styling, right? I'm gonna do this. Before though, I want to set things up in the administration panel, and some people are gonna get upset because I'm not coding now, I'm setting things up. Basically, I want to set up these about, portfolio, contact, the blog page we already have. I want to set up these. Sabrina Miso Creative is going to be the subtitle. I need to set up a bunch of things. So in the general, it's Sabrina Miso, and the subtitle is going to be creative. Perfect. Then let's create a bunch of pages. And one is going to be about it. What is that, French? I don't know. This is my about page. Publish. Okay, great. Then a new one is going to be portfolio. And of course, this is not going to be, the portfolio page is going to be an actual page, but it's basically going to be this. And this is going to be another template because we don't want to write anything here. We don't have a collection of posts. So it's going to be a template which will allow the user, the client, to pick which posts. Or it's automatic. It just loads automatically, like in a chronological way, the most recently uploaded. Or because the clients wants more control, especially in a matter of like styling on a photography portfolio, we should implement the option to just drag and drop and organize these. And this can be a Gutenberg block widget. This can be a nice Gutenberg widget where you organize the list of your picture and it creates the preview of the masonry grid with your side to side. So yeah, we can do that. What I was doing, I was creating a portfolio. This is my portfolio. Okay, and then what do we have? Portfolio, contact. Booking can be a thing. Yeah, let's just have a contact here. Portfolio and contact. Contact me for amazing pics. I like to put silly placeholder content that sometimes lands on production and it's the worst. But I like this. I like this. Then okay. Now we need to create a menu. We have the menu one, but it's not this main menu. Let's create this and not landing page. Remove. Actually, yes. Landing page should be, no, it shouldn't be in the menu. What am I doing? Come on. We got the about, we got the portfolio. Is that the type? Well, whatever, the client can change the structure. We got a blog and content, and display location. This is our primary location, and this is good because we can set different locations in PHP for different menu structures. So we save this. We got our menu. Okay, create a new menu, social. Just social menu. Okay. We need to create a new location, which is, I don't remember, but if I'm not wrong, let's see, let's find it together. If I'm not wrong, it's inside the ink folder. Woof. Walkernav, no. API, widgets, text customizer, footer header, callbacks, no. This is for the settings. Core, I don't think it's the custom admin post types, plugin, theme, setup, menus. Should have been there. So here we have menus method, a menus function that is called by the register functions of the menus class. And the menus function, basically, you can register all the menus, all your menus here. Why am I using this weird ass comment style? I don't know. But here I can change this, or I can duplicate this and call these menu social and social. So the name that you give here is basically the ID, the unique identifier. That's why it's lowercase. You can call these whatever you want, blah, blah, blah. What the user sees is this escape HTML here. We are formatting, we're escaping HTML, whatever. But we can rename these to primary menu and social menu, something like that. Or I don't like uppercase, primary menu, social menu. Now that we save this, we can access back our page, reload, and look what we have here. We have our social menu. So we can go to manage locations. Our primary menu is set for the main menu. Our social menu is set for social menu. Save changes. Perfect. So now that we have these, we can check, we can simply call in PHP or the primary menu or the social menu in all the locations that we want, in any location, any file. And we can ping that, and automatically the user can handle where some links go. If a link go into a social or in the primary menu, you can have as many menus as you want. You can have the primary, secondary menu. So in this case, for example, in my design, In the home page or in the landing page, we have this menu here that has about, portfolio, and contact. And then inside the website, we will have this menu that it's more extended. The portfolios, it's opened up, has some sub options or sub pages. We also have the booking link, and same thing in the pages. So by doing that, we can have a primary menu that is only for the landing page, and then a secondary or an inner menu that has a different structure and opens and collapses and it does different things. Instead of tweaking and try to hack together the main menu, we can have two completely separate menus, which is pretty awesome. Okay, so I registered the primary menu and I just wanna include it here. Let me check if I am already calling it. Yeah, in the header, see? Theme location, and I'm using the default quarter and half class. Okay, so let's do this. Let's copy my template. Start building my template. First of all, I want to build a main tag. Class. I want these to be flex. Yeah, flex. Then I want these to be what is the indentation? It's a tab with 4 spaces. Okay, let's keep it that way. I'm gonna probably change the structure, but here let's do a side, and inside a side we can put the menu here. Okay, and then we can put, whoops, we can open a section here, and actually that's it. It's the structure here, because we don't have anything written in the body, so we don't need a body section here. Okay, can do these. Save it. Let's check the website, dashboard, open up. Boom. Now we should have, yeah, there you go. We have the header, Sabrina Misa Creative. Then we have the about, portfolio, blog, contact. About, portfolio, blog, contact is doubled up. Of course it's doubled up because the menu, it's already in the header. So we just simply have to remove it from the header. And then we have the footer, which we need to change, but it's not a problem. So if we access the header.php, let's delete all this structure. I don't like this structure. Also, oh, because it's the customizer, we're putting inline style. Oh, this is gross. Okay, we got the branding, description. If we have the description, this is useless. We're not using it anymore. So now we should just have one menu. There you go. And we can control it. That's awesome. Okay, so I think it's been an hour now. So I think I'm gonna stop the coding here because I'm getting a little bit tired. Sorry. But we did some good things today. We checked how to basically tweak and extend AWPS to install extra dependencies. In my case, I set up and configured Tailwind CSS super quickly. It was very straightforward. We configured Tailwind CSS in order to purge all the files that are in a pretty straightforward and pretty basic WordPress theme. We set up our .env at the beginning, so our composer works perfectly. We created our first landing page, and we set up a bunch of administration things in the admin. So we set up our default pages, and we set up our default settings to show the website like we want. And that's a perfect starting point. this is awesome. This is pretty straightforward. And it took me like half an hour-ish to set things up because I was talking and describing what I was doing. But usually to do something like that, literally with my workflow using Laravel, Valet, and using AWPS and Laravel Mix, I can set up a WordPress static theme, a WordPress starter setup just to start coding in 20 minutes. It's pretty straightforward. It doesn't take much time. So I'm going to take another sip of water. Meanwhile, just let me know in the comments if you have, or in the chat, if you have any questions whatsoever. Before I start closing shop and before we conclude these gorgeous, awesome live streaming. So yeah, go on with the questions. All right. Joe Howe says, I hate Facebook. Yeah, me too. WordPress made a bad choice when chose the React for Gutenberg, but it just need to accept, sadly. Yeah, I don't like React at all, and I don't like that now React is part of Gutenberg or WordPress core, basically. We're so tied to it. I wish WordPress had chosen Vue.js. It would have been way better. I think Vue.js is far superior than React, but don't quote me on that. People are gonna hate me for that. Batter said, yes, you can do both, of course, live streaming too. Yes, I like the way you teach. I learned a lot from you. Thank you so much, RJ. Learned with 8MH said, are you well, chatting with the others, it's fine. Danny suggests homepage. So Danny says, I hated that there isn't an option to disable the editor on a template that is content is programmatically generated. Yes, you can. When you, you can, but it's kind of a hack. So when you create a custom post type, you can specify what things it supports. So it can support an editor, can support a thumbnail, can support the title. So I created these custom post type called artist, if I'm not wrong. Let me check if it works as expected. Artist, if I knew. Yeah, see, like I created this custom post type called artist and doesn't have an editor, doesn't have anything. So there's a way, I don't remember now, but there's a way to actually tweak, edit, and override the default post type that is called posts or pages. The pages in WordPress, like the page section, is just another custom post type. So you can override that and update the supports tag of the array of the custom post types array of attributes and not include the editor, thumbnail, excerpt, other. Like you can ignore everything else. So yes, it's doable. It's better for custom post types. It's straightforward. For the default posts and pages, it's a bit hacky and you need to find a way. There should be, I don't remember, there's a method. I think I did a tutorial about it. But yeah, you can do it. So it's achievable. But tied to a template, I'm not sure. I wish it was possible, yes, that if you use a template, you can specify if a template has some specific options, but WordPress should change the way it handles templates, because as you saw, like templates now are just, you can only like customize a template by specifying a tag in the comments. So it's not really flexible in this way, but we can check the developer documentation. I don't know if they updated it recently. They replay page templates or post types. For more details, these examples below. Yeah, okay. Page template, yeah, you can specify tag, blah, 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 blah. Page template, purpose and user control, file organization, page template, package WordPress. Yeah. Oh, look at that. There are other tags. You can specify which post types that template is available, and that's it. That's it. Template name. Yeah, it's pretty limited. Yeah, I think this is the only thing that you can do. Too bad. I wish there was another. Yeah, I wish they would extend the tags here to allow customizing the editor from the comments of the. That would be awesome. That would be super flexible. I think it would be. I think it's doable. I'm not sure if it's too much power for the user to do something like that, but that would be quite interesting. NH Iman asks, custom post type without internationalization. So the internationalization of translation or multilingual, it's mostly handled by plugins. So it depends on the plugin. If the plugin allows you to specify or ignore a specific custom post type, good. Oh my God. I'm very tired. But yeah, I don't think there's an option built into the WordPress core to completely ignore internationalization. I mean, you can write something without allowing translation. But I don't know if you should, because you should always allow translation. Otherwise, it's a shit show when you release your theme and other people want to use it in different languages. So yeah, you shouldn't do it. But anyway, I think we can call it a day. We are at the end of this live streaming. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for all the questions, for your support, for your awesome involvement during these silly times where I show all the bad coding choices that I make. But as usual, please subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up to the video, share the video in your social networks, so it will help a lot. And if you want, check the link in the description to get $100 off a Linode, $100 credit. Check the merchandise, the store, if you want some cool t-shirts, and just be awesome and be nice to each other. So thank you so much for watching, and until the next one, as usual, happy coding. Bye.